Hello, good evening. This video is about individual differences, and this topic will be useful for the aspirants of UGC NET writers. And they have got paper 1 and paper 2. The paper 1 is about the general aptitude, and in paper 1 of the UGC NET exam, in the first unit, which is the teaching aptitude, the second chapter is about learners' characteristics and the characteristics of adolescents and adult learners and individual differences. And this topic, individual differences, we are going to discuss today. And also in the paper 2 for education subject, in the unit 3, which is about growth and development, there also we'll be discussing about individual differences. This topic also includes individual differences among the learners. And also in the paper 2, unit 10, you got inclusive education. That is, it deals with education for all, even those who are with learning disability, special children. And there also you'll be talking about individual differences. Only if you're able to identify the differences amongst the learners, you can give individualized instruction, which is the aim for the inclusive education. So this topic, individual difference amongst learners, is important for the UGC NET takers, both for the paper 1 and paper 2. And now, let me tell you what is meant by individual difference. That is, in a classroom, when you go to a classroom, you see hundreds of students, or maybe 60 or 50, whatever the number may be. And you see, they may be small children. You may be handling a class of third or fourth standard. They may be children, or they may be adults, or they may be adolescents, or distance learning, whatever it is. The contact program during distance learning, whatever be the subject or the class, you will see the learners of different kind. There are a lot of differences amongst your learners, starting from their age, starting from their appearances, their height, their weight, their eyes, color of the skin, color of the hair. And these are all physical differences, and also there will be a lot of differences in their abilities, mental abilities, their emotional setup, their emotional developments. And you will see differences in their interest, and you will find differences in their skills. There are students who are more skilled, and there are students who are in the initial stages of acquiring skills, and see all kind of variation. It's a continuum of development. So you will see differences in their cultural development, and you will see differences in their social development. So you will see differences in their behaviors, you will see differences in their attitudes, you will see differences in their intelligence, the level of intelligence. So you will see all kind of differences. And these constitute what is known as the individual differences among learners. And irrespective of their age, maybe adults or children, whatever it may be, there may be age, you will see differences amongst them, both physical, emotional, mental, social, and psychological differences. Now, we will see what are the causes, the reasons for these differences you see amongst the learners. And psychology, this is a topic mostly dealt in psychology and also in sociology, and even in philosophy of education. And while discussing about the various causes for these vast differences among the learners, psychologists has come out with 7 concrete reasons. And they are listing 7 factors responsible for these individual differences. What are they? The first and the foremost is the heredity factors. What is heredity? That is those characteristics which we acquire from our ancestors, from our parents or grandparents, or maybe from great grandparents. So these constitute the hereditary factors, whatever we acquire from our forefathers. And so when we acquire characters from our ancestors, so there is a lot of differences. Even amongst the siblings, you see differences. Sometimes even amongst the twins who are born together for the same mother, you will see differences, some kind of differences. So these factors, what is inherited by us from our ancestor, constitute what is known as nature. So what we acquire in nature from birth. And the second reason for the individual difference is the environment. So forget the heredity, what we have acquired from our parents. We acquire a lot of characteristics, our physical, mental, emotional, social, psychological characteristics from the environment in which we live. For example, the place where you live, the place where your house is located, or the school you go, or the neighbors whom you mingle with, or the friends you go out with. You derive so many characteristics. Your personality changes based on the environment in which you are growing up, in which you are developing, in which school you are going. So they contribute to the individual differences, the environment. And this part, that is whatever is coming from the environment, is called as nurture. 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 Nurture means nourishment, something which you get from outside, not from your birth. So from the environment. So this has given rise to the topic called nature versus nurture. Nature is your heredity, your genes. What are they actually? What do you inherit from your parents, from your mother and father? You inherit genes. If you know a little bit of genetics, the genes are found on the chromosomes of the cells. And these genes are made up of deoxyribonucleic acid, and they are responsible for they determine your characteristics, your color of the eyes, or your height, what you are going to be. And so you derive them from both your mother and father. And this factor from heredity constitute what is known as nature. And nurture is from the environment, from the food you receive, the food you eat. You develop characteristics. You become tall or you become short. If you are malnourished, you become short. And if you are overnourished, you become obese. So this is called a nurture. And also your behavioral characteristics. Some of the behaviors you get from the environment by by imitating from your friends, or copying from your teachers, modeling your teachers, or modeling from the heroes from the cinema. So all these come from outside, that is constitute what is known as nurture. So remember this, nature versus nurture. So some people may confuse it. They think that the environment is the nature, because we always say nature is the greens and the birds and the trees and the rivers around us. So that is nature. No, here nature refers to the genes, heredity, and the environment is called as nurturing from outside. So this has given rise to a great debate, right? Since ages ago, scientists have been debating which plays a greater role in determining the characteristics of a person, whether The heredity contributes more or the environment contributes more, whether it is nature or nurture. But now we know they are both are equally important. They contribute equally, or they interact with each other. In fact, they work together. So it is not even plus nature plus nurture. It is nature multiplied by nurture. So you have so many combinations. If your genes are good, if your heredity is superior, if you've got superior genes from superior parents, and also if your environment is superior, you are brought up in a good house, good background, and you are brought up with the good parents, I mean, educated parents and good behaviors, and also you go to a good school. See, all these superior factors are joined, you become a superior human being with great intellect and emotional intelligence and whatnot. And suppose you are this heredity is very low. That means your parents are not educated, low IQ, poor background, and you go to a very poor school where, not in the poor in the sense that lacking in many aspects, the infrastructure and the facilities and the resources. So that poor environment and poor genes that will result in a poor individual. That means low individual, low capable, low personality. And then in between comes the average, you know that. So there are various levels. There is a continuum, both the contribution of the heredity and the contribution of the environment. So many factors come into play. So all that you need to know is, don't confuse with environment as nature. Here, nature refers to heredity and nurture refers to environment. That's all you should know. And it is the contribution of both, not put together, multiplied by each other. So that they combine in various ways. That is how your personality and my personality is determined. What are my genes? What did I get from my mother? What did I get from my father? What did I get from my ancestors in the form of genes? And what environment I grew up, what environment I developed uh, my, my schooling, my college education. So everything all put together, my total personality is determined. So these are the two main reasons for the individual differences among the learners. Now we will go to the other causes. The next one is learning and training. You know that learning, whatever be your genes, whatever be your environment, always learning plays a role. You know that I can change you wherever background. The teacher, the educator can change the behaviors or the attitude, the interest of the students by giving them proper training and teaching. So you modify your behavior, you improve your intelligent quotient and your emotional developments. All this is possible by learning and training. And the fourth factor is age and maturation. Of course, the age brings about a lot of changes in the individuals, and these changes are not uniform. For one individual, it is different, and another one, it is different. So it brings about the differences. So that is also age and maturation process is also contributing to the individual differences we see amongst the learners. And then comes the hormones, the endocrine glands of our body. The human beings have got glands which are ductless. They don't have ducts. They are called endocrine glands. They are, you know, that you might have studied in science. They are thyroid, parathyroid gland, pineal gland, hypothalamus, adrenal glands, and these gonads, ovaries, and testes. So these are all various endocrine glands in the human body, both in boys and girls, and they secrete what are chemical substances known as hormones, and they play havoc in the human body. They bring about a lot of growth and development, metabolism, and your emotions and everything. So our whatever differences we see among the individuals are also due to this hormonal play. And then comes the race differences. Sometimes, you know, some of the differences we see, its origin is from the race which we belong to. Some cultural habits and other things. We see a lot of differences because of the racial differences. And then finally the sex differences. It's not that the male or the female, it's the differences that we come across in the due to gender behavior. I'm not going into detail, the gender stereotyping and other thing that we will be discussing in a separate video. So these 7 factors are important in bringing about the individual difference. What are they? Heredity and the environment, both together are called as nature versus nurture. And then the learning and training, the age and maturation, and the hormones and endocrine glands, and the race differences, and finally the sex differences. And as I've told you, right from the beginning of the history, there has been a debate going on whether nature contributes more or nurture contributes more to the development of the human personality. Now we know that they both play together. And so Galton has studied this in detail in differential psychology. So while studying about the personality, he describes differential psychology, why the people behave differently because of individual differences. And what is the educational implication? Now coming to our point, this you should make a note of it. Why should we study as teacher? Why should we know about the differences that exist among our learners? Why not we just go and teach the content to the students? Can we teach the same content, the same method to all the students? No, it is not advisable because there are differences among the students, both in their ability, there are differences in their interests, in their skills, and in their behaviors, in their attitude. So, as teachers, we must first identify the differences among them and cater to their individual needs. What are their needs? Their needs are different. Their interests are different. Their skills are different. Their abilities are different. Their attitude are different. So you have to cater individually to the uh, learners. And this is what is called as differentiated instruction. That we will discuss. It's a big topic. We'll be doing a separate video, but you should know what is a DI. DI is differentiated instruction, where we customize, individualize the instruction according to the interest, desire, attitude, the needs of the learner. So that is very important. So now what are the educational implications? Why should we know? Because you know that the learner should first know what are his interests, what are his strengths, what are his weakness, and what are his potentiality. And for that, the teachers need to know the differences that exist between them and why, what are the causes that exist for the differences. And the teacher, then only the teacher can modify her content or even modify the process of teaching and even modify the process of evaluating. So she has to modify her teaching. So she has to adapt multiple methods, multiple curriculum, multiple ways of assessment in order to suit to the needs and the skills and the ability of the learners. So that is where this knowing this topic, individual difference, plays a crucial role. So that is why we study this as an individual difference as a separate topic. And as I told you, it is covered both in paper 1 and in paper 2. In paper 1 in the teaching aptitude, under that you have got the learners characteristics of adolescents and adults, and the individual differences. And also in the paper 2 of education, the unit 3 where growth and development topic is there, which includes individual differences, because in the growth and development process we see a lot of differences. And also in unit 10 inclusive education, because the very aim of inclusive education, it is to include all the people, those people who are also who are disabled, not having high IQ. So that is the purpose of inclusive education, include all. So in order to achieve that goal, you need to know about the differences amongst the learners and how to cater to the individual needs and abilities and the individual capacities. So we will be discussing about the differentiated instruction in the next video. And thank you for watching. Please comment on this video and also please subscribe to it. Thank you.